Why is it that some people practice this and never seem to improve while others improve so quickly? Hello and welcome to another video with me, Elmo J. Karjalainen, and it's good to have you along. Today I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to practice this instrument for maximum results. Because some people, they practice and nothing really happens. And I've seen this in elementary school, middle school and high school when I've been a music teacher. And I've seen this in the football team where I've coached now for nearly 6 years. Towards the end, I'll give you a bonus tip, which is maybe the most important one for some of you. Number 1, imagine that you set sail into the sunsets and it looks beautiful, everything is nice, and then the following day you keep going and it's still very nice. But after a week, something's wrong. It's not too nice anymore. Where are you going? You don't know. That's the problem. Just going sailing without any destination is what a lot of people do on guitar. They learn something from here, they learn something from there, they learn something from there, and it just doesn't work. You need goals. Now, ideally, you would have a big goal. Very concrete, big goal. For me, it was, I want to play like Gary Moore, Yngwie Malmsteen, Steve Vai. That was easy to break down into smaller bits, and then it becomes kind of like a ladder. You just climb, you take one step at a time. I need to learn to synchronize my hands. I need to learn bending. What I don't need to learn is something like jazz, which I still haven't learned. I enjoy jazz, but it's not something I necessarily want to play. And the amount of students who I've had, when they've come to their first lesson and I've asked, what do you want to play? And they say, I don't know. I know that there is going to be a bit of a problem. How do you know if you don't have that big goal? How do you know what you want to play? Well, just try to think of a few songs that you like and try to learn them. Those are perfectly good goals. Try to take it a step at a time, and if at all possible, try to see if they somehow relate to each other. Try to talk to someone who plays guitar. Try to check some forums. I'm gonna have a video later on tips and tricks on what to actually play. I'm going to have a beginner course on this channel, so make sure to like and subscribe if that's what you're kind of after. But most people do have some kind of idea. Number 2, imagine a snowball that you roll in the snow. What happens to it? Well, it snowballs. But let's say you roll it around for a while and then you leave it and the sun shines and it melts a bit, and then you take, after a week, it's smaller, you roll it around a bit more, you get some more snow. You see what I mean? It snowballs. But when you leave it, it doesn't snowball, it just melts. It's the same with learning. If you try to play 3 hours on a Saturday, you won't get the benefit of the 3 hours. If you spread that 3 hours, if you just take 1 hour and spread that over 7 days, you will learn so much more than during that 3 hours on a Saturday. And there are lots of things going on here. There's the next thing that we're going to talk about. There's sleep, which reinforces what you already learned. And I mean, consistency is just absolutely key. But start small. That's what I would say, because otherwise it's really easy to get discouraged and stop. So build a habit out of practicing. I practice in the mornings after breakfast for a minimum of 15 minutes a day. I have a family, I have this YouTube channel, I coach football, I have tons of stuff going on, so sometimes I just don't have time, but I see to it that I always play at least 15 minutes a day. Often it's an hour. Start with 15 minutes. Make it a habit. After a while, you will see results, especially if you do the next one and number 4. Number 3. Now, this is something that's very much an issue these days. Not so much when I was younger, because We didn't have smartphones that kept sending us notifications about, well, this and that person has just liked your post on Instagram or whatever. Focus. You need to attend to what you're doing. And I mean, really focus. So put away your phone, put it in flight mode or quiet. Put it somewhere so you don't see when the screen lights up if you have it in quiet mode. And make sure that that 15 minutes is uninterrupted focus. You might find that your mind starts wandering, and that's when you have to pull back attention to what it is that you're doing. In this case, this thing. Every time you pull back focus to this thing, it will improve your ability to focus, because practicing in and of itself is also a skill that you need to practice. Focus, focus, focus. If you have a family, try to make sure that they won't disturb you. I know that can be difficult, but try to make your environment such that you're not distracted. Don't watch The Simpsons while playing guitar. I mean, it won't harm you. If it's a skill that you already know, it might even kind of reinforce the skill, but you won't really improve. We're not multitasking animals. I have trouble chewing gum and walking at the same time. Before I go on, if you're enjoying this content, please like, subscribe and hit the bell notification. And if you really like it, there's a link in the description where you can buy me a coffee to support the channel. Number 4. I already mentioned this one. It's called measuring progress. Why is this important? Well, first of all, it gives you added motivation when you notice that you're progressing. Second, it can work as a form of error feedback. Now, what do I mean? Well, when you go to a teacher, you play something, whatever, let's say, and you're doing something that you're not even noticing, or maybe you are noticing, maybe one of the notes is rattling or something, you're getting tired really quickly or something. The teacher can then correct what it is that you're doing. But if you're learning online, you won't have that error feedback from the teacher. Now, if you're playing what I just played, one of the things you can do is use a metronome, and that way you'll get a reading for this is how fast I can play it cleanly. And then you keep going, and in a few days you might notice I've gone from 120 to 126 or something like that. And that will give you added motivation. The problem is that most of us, or most of the time, we won't be learning something that has to do with speed, because we're learning to play music. Take bends. That might be an issue. How do you measure progress with bends? Simple. You film yourself. Now, I know it can be cringe-worthy watching yourself mess up royally. Believe me, I know. Go watch some of my older videos on my main channel. Absolutely terrible. But I keep them there as a reminder to myself that we all have to start somewhere. It's actually a good reminder for you as well. We all have to fail. If you never fail, you're not really learning. You're just repeating what you already know. And when you watch yourself bend, you might notice that you're doing this instead of what your favorite guitar player is doing. This. What's the difference there? Here I was bending with my fingers, and here I'm using my thumb to anchor here and actually using more wrist motion, so I get more power, more control. And then you notice after a month when you've been practicing your bends, hey, they actually sound much better. And when you listen to yourself, look at yourself, I actually recommend sometimes just recording yourself so you don't watch what you're doing. That also develops your ear, which is a good thing. Number 5, One of the biggest problems, and I've been guilty of this as well, that many people have, is that they just sit around noodling. Noodling is basically where you just play something without really having any kind of purpose behind what you're playing and just doing whatever. And this, you can avoid this if you have goals and if you measure your progress and if you focus. But the thing is to always play at your boundary or learn new things. So let's say you're doing this again. And so on. The only way to push your boundary effectively is to play on both sides of the boundary. So let's say that your boundary is 120. That's where your kind of technique starts to fall apart a bit. You can just barely do it. 126? No, you can't do that. 116? It's a bit better. 112? Really good. So you go, you start, let's say you start your practice session with that. You play 112, 116, 120. You're struggling a bit. 126, can't do it. Take it back to 116, and then you keep going on both sides of 120. That's how it works. Every time you mess up, you go back 2 steps or 3 steps. I've noticed that I have to sometimes go back 4 or 5 steps because everything just falls apart. But that's the way it goes. And that's the way you push the boundary. Now, with bends, it's a bit more difficult, but there it helps to record yourself and film yourself. You don't have to do it every single day. That's not the point. But don't get stuck in just playing. Let's say you've just learned power chords and you've been practicing them with this song. I had a student of mine who never really played anything but that, and he didn't really progress. Huge surprise. Okay, and then we get to the bonus one, which is you can fail at what you don't like. So why not take a chance with something you love? And I'm assuming you at least like this instrument. Imagine yourself not going for your dreams, ending up with a job you don't like. Maybe you're an accountant, I don't know. One day you get fired and you're screwed and it's really depressing. That happens to people. People do get fired, laid off, companies go bust, whatever, shit happens. So why not take a chance with what you love? But the first step with that thing that you love is to believe that you can actually do it. There is no inherent reason why you shouldn't be able to learn to play guitar, as long as you have everything kind of working. Some people say I have such short fingers. So did Danny Gatton. He was brilliant. I can't play like Danny Gatton. It all just boils down to excuses, to people bringing up excuses why not to even try. You don't know until you try. You will never know until you try. And maybe it won't work out. Maybe you will not become the big guitar player that you dreamed you would. But you might still have loads of enjoyment, hours of enjoyment from this instrument. You might learn how to practice, which is a skill that you can use in any other part of life. And you might become an accountant and you might get laid off, sacked, and you might be without a job. But at least you can then play this guitar at home while you're feeling depressed to feel a bit better. And maybe those skills of learning how to play guitar, doing something that's not always easy, believing in yourself, maybe those skills can come in handy because you might be looking for another job. You might be looking to re-educate yourself. Sitting around and saying, I could never do that. Well, good luck. If you want to know what to practice on guitar, there's a video here. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this one. Take care. See you. Goodbye.